Hey everyone, welcome to the Please Listen podcast. I'm your host, John Follett. You may notice that things look a little bit different. That's because bad news, I got robbed. They took pretty much everything that I had. Most of my podcast stuff, my green screen, my lights, my microphone stand, my desk. They took my chair. They took my potted plant. Why would they take my potted plant and my copy of the book Dune? Why would they need that? They can just watch the movie anyways. They don't need the book. So everything's gone. This is everything that they left. Just this TV, because who wants that? And the Captain America shield. I don't think they could handle the weight of that thing. I'm the only one that can carry that actually. The good thing they left Baby Grogu is his name. Baby Grogu. Just Grogu, actually. I got that right for once. So I can't even do the applause because they took my soundboard also. My soundboard's gone. That was like the only reason people watch this show is because of the soundboard. It's so entertaining. I'm glad that Baby Grogu was stayed, though. I'm glad that that's the one thing. I would have had to go John Wick mode if they took fucking Baby Grogu, okay? Well, I guess less John Wick mode and more Liam Neeson in Taken, because he's in John Wick they kill the dog, in Taken they take the daughter, which Baby Grogu is basically my daughter. You remember the Taken movies, right? I have a certain set of skills. Why are so many of those quotes from that movie so like often quoted? Why did that movie become such a meme, guys? That's a question. That's something that I think about sometimes. Anyways, this is not true. I'm joking, of course. Thankfully, I did not get robbed. I'm in the process of moving right now, so all my stuff is in boxes. What you're seeing is just all my possessions. I got an air mattress behind me. Let me hide this Xbox controller. Actually, I didn't know you could see that. That's embarrassing. I don't have any chairs, no desks. My computer's sitting on a box right now, a box full of most of my Legos. I've got another box next to me. My mouse, my keyboard are on an Xbox. No, actually Xbox. I shouldn't have said that. That's embarrassing. I only have this lamp that is lighting me, and a dream. That's all I have. I just kept the essentials. The Captain America shield is if the thieves ever come back, I'll be prepared. I'll throw them at them. Yeah, I'm in the process of moving, so all my stuff is gone. It's probably gonna be the next few episodes are probably gonna be the road trip series or whatever the hell it's called, because it's gonna be probably a long trek to get there. And I was like, maybe, I don't know, maybe, because usually I feel like last year, if this was happening last year, I would have been like, I'm just not going to make any podcasts, any episodes, any videos. But now, since I'm like so dialed in, I've been making episode after episode, I've been making shorts. I hate making shorts, and I've been making shorts anyways, because I need to promote those episodes. And actually, if I'm being honest, this is the most I've enjoyed making the podcast in like a long time, like these past few episodes. I think they're actually really good. This is a little embarrassing. I sometimes I put on my own podcast to go to sleep. I don't know why that is. It's not like it's not like a narcissistic thing, but it's just like I like listening to, like, it's like if you are watching a movie, rewatching a movie, because like you already know what's gonna happen. I'm watching my own podcast because I already know what I'm gonna say, and I already agree with that guy. I'm like, that guy makes some good points, and it soothes my mind. Whereas if I was watching maybe somebody else's podcast and I heard something that I disagreed with, my brain would flare up and it would prevent me from sleeping. I might need to see a doctor about that, or like a psychologist. But I've been really enjoying it. I think now, for the first time in the longest time, I'm like sure and I'm confident in what I want this podcast to be, because it's been flip-flopping. There was a whole like 20 episodes that I made originally like 2 years ago. I didn't like them anymore, and I got rid of them, and then I did a reboot, like a Hollywood franchise, which suits, because that's usually what I talk about on this program. And then I don't know if anybody's been paying close attention. I've been revamping I've been redoing the thumbnails for like the older episodes, and I've been putting them all together. There have been multiple times where I've like restarted, but now everything's a part of it. Everything except the first 20, those can stay dead. Maybe I'll bring back some of them. But all of them, they're now, together in a playlist. And now these past few episodes, this is like what I've been. This is not scared to make, but I've always been like, do I want to be a guy that talks about movies and superheroes? But now I'm just like, yeah. I mean, this like, because I used to be like, I'd sit down for a podcast and be like, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. And I would just sit there. And after like 20 minutes, I'd be like, I don't know what to say anymore. Is this even entertaining? And then a lot of times I would record a full thing and I'd be like, that sucked. I'd scrap it, I'd re-record it, and then I'd scrap it again. And so I've recorded hours of myself talking that don't even see the light of day. And but I think now that I'm just going to be like, I'm just going to talk about what I want to talk about, what I'm passionate about. And I think that passion, sorry, this is really unnecessary. I'll get into the movie stuff in a second. I think that passion, hopefully I hope it translates on screen, and that will just in turn make the podcast infinitely more entertaining than if I was talking about whatever, because things that I had to settle to talk about because I was too afraid to talk about other things. Anyways, back to the moving thing. Me moving and the process of packing everything together and putting it in a van or in a truck and preparing things. What that means is I haven't been able to watch any new movies. I haven't gone to the theater. The last thing I saw in the theater, which is probably going to be what I'm going to talk about today, was The Devil Wears Prada 2. And there's been a lot of good movies recently, apparently. I wouldn't know if they're good because I haven't seen them, but a lot of movies that a lot of people have been talking about. Obsession. This guy from Obsession made $30 and the movie made $4 trillion. I've been seeing a lot of that. Like, the Obsession movie made $1 jillion at the box office, but this guy was only paid in hot dogs, even though the budget for that Obsession movie was very low. Apparently that's a good movie. It would be nice to talk about it. That's all the buzz. Backrooms also came out. Backrooms, it's based on like is it a creepypasta? I know it's like a analog horror, not analog horror, but I know it's like based on like the liminal space. There was like the guy made the video on the internet of the Backrooms, and then that blew up. And then he directed this movie, and he's younger than me, which is kind of depressing.
He's 20 years old. Kane Parsons,
just 20 years old.
Kane Parsons. He's only 20 years old.
20-year-old YouTuber.
20-year-old Kane
Directed by
Parsons,
a 20-year-old director.
And now
with
at
8
the
Oscars.
age of 20.
He's turning 21 in 2 weeks.
Obsession and Backrooms, they've been blowing up. They've been making so much money, despite having like kind of little budgets. Obsession especially had like 200,000. I might be wrong about that. But they've been making so much money, more so than like the big blockbusters. It's like The Mandalorian and Grogu. They've been crushing that Mandalorian and Grogu movie. That movie probably, it's a big franchise. It's a Star Wars movie, and it's being beaten out by two essentially just indie horror movies, which is nice. It's nice to see that. I'm a kind of person that thinks, I know a lot of people are just so against like big budget blockbuster Hollywood IPs. But I'm a guy that thinks there's space for both of those kinds of movies in the cinema. So it's good that He-Man. I don't think He-Man's making any money actually. But the thing about that is like people are always like it looks like the little guy. It looks like independent cinema's winning, and the big blockbuster franchises they're over. People are over it. But I feel like that conversation happens like every year probably. Like every year there's probably like a month or two where there's a big budget Hollywood IP franchise movie that comes out, and then like a smaller indie movie, and the small indie movie makes $1 jillion, and the big budget movie makes also a lot of money but not enough for the budget to like make back money, and everybody's like, it looks like independent small time cinema's back, guys, and the Hollywood roller coasters are out of here. And then another big budget Hollywood movie comes out that people actually like, and then they all go see that one instead, and then the recycle just repeats. But it's I don't know. It's nice to see people are going to the cinema. That's a statistic that I saw, that more people, like, it's the most numbers that we've seen in the cinema since like May of 2019. And if you remember, 2019 was a great year for people seeing movies. People were going to the theater every week probably. And I guess that's kind of true, because this year I've been going to the theater many times, probably more times than I did at all last year. Maybe that's not true. Last year I saw the Captain America, Thunderbolts. Was that also last year? I saw all the Marvel movies and then the Superman. And then this year I saw Hail Mary, the drama, Devil Wears Prada 2. I'm probably going to go again for Spider-Man. Probably. I'm definitely going to go again for Spider-Man. What the hell? Why would I even say maybe? I've also felt like compelled to want to go to the theater more. Like seeing what movies are coming out this year, what movies are out already. Except He-Man, though. I don't know if I'm going to see the He-Man movie, Masters of the Universe, that which came out super recently. That's one of those ones. That's one of those movies where it's like based on a toy from the 80s or 90s. It's a big budget Hollywood remake. And all the middle-aged people that grew up with those toys, they go see the movie and they're like, "This is the best movie I've ever seen," but it makes no money because nobody else cares about it except that small demographic of people in their 40s who grew up with a toy. These people that are fans of these toys and these movies, they watched there was a cartoon when there was a kid, but the cartoon was more designed to sell more of the toys. It's very cynical, but I don't know why these people, they don't really see that. And it's usually the same kind of people that are like, "Man, today people the companies just want to make money off of kids. They just want to sell things to kids." But that's what they grew up with, Ninja Turtles, kind of, Transformers, G.I. Joe, and He-Man. And that He-Man movie, I mean, not to be an asshole or anything, but like, you're kind of late, guys. I have not heard a soul talk about He-Man since ever, actually. I've never heard a single soul talk about He-Man. I don't think anybody's thought about He-Man in the past like 5 years. And so I'm like, we gotta get past this trend of making big budget Hollywood movies about old toys, like from the 90s. I'm like, when are we gonna get to toys from my generation? I want to see big budget Hollywood movies with my toys from when I was a kid. Where's the fucking Geotrax movie? When's the Mighty Bean movie? I want to see the Mighty Bean movie. When's the Lego movie? Just kidding, they made that already, and it rocked. It was epic. But when's the Playmobil movie? Just kidding, they made that too, and that movie sucked. I don't know, I've never seen that one. But we're just gonna keep rebooting. Oh, guess what? I'm trying to think of an old toy. It's the Beanie Baby movie. You guys remember Beanie Babies, right? No. I want to see. What other toys did I play with? I was gonna say Grocery Gang. Grocery Gang. But I didn't play with those. Those were a little bit after my time. Actually, I was looking up because I was trying to, for this joke, I was like, what was that? Because I always forget that about Geotrax, even though I play with Geotrax a lot. I love Geotrax. And there was like an animated like web series that I watched also. I wanted to get all the Geotrax. I would look at the box and be like, I want all these. So I was looking up, like, I couldn't remember like popular toy lines from the 2000s. I was like, ones with trains, especially. But I was looking at like a list of like popular 2000s kids toys, and Grocery Gang popped up. And I was like, what the hell? I don't even, was that? That's like, no, that does not feel like vintage, or not vintage, but that does not feel like 2000s kind of toy. The Grocery Gang. If you played with Grocery Gang as a kid, you were basically born yesterday. That's my opinion on that. Definitely do not. That is not the gold standard when it comes to kids' toys. So that's just my long-winded way of saying I haven't seen any movies since I've been busy doing other things, like moving. However, the last movie that I did see in the theater is one that I have yet to talk about. And it's actually one that nobody's talked about, I've noticed, since it came out. And that is The Devil Wears Prada 2. The sequel to the world-famous classic, The Devil Wears Prada. Full stop. And when this movie came out, it's one of those things where it's like the 20 years later sequel. And the only thing I heard that it was coming out, and then the only thing that anybody talked about were they were comparing two shots of like the characters in an elevator from the new one and the old one, and they were like, modern cinematography sucks. And that was basically the end of the discussion surrounding that movie that I saw. And after the movie came out, not a single soul talked about it, I don't think. But I'm going to, because I saw that. I never seen the first one, and the reason I saw the second one is because of a little birdie asked me. No, Catherine, who you saw in the Mandalorian and Grogu video, my girlfriend. She's a big fan of the original one, and so she wanted to see the second one. And then I was like, I haven't seen the first one, and so we watched the first one, and then a few days later we went to the theater and saw the second one. And so this is going to be the kind of a double review of both the Devil Wears Prada franchise. I checked. I don't think there's any Devil Wears Prada Xbox games from 2007 or anything that I'm missing. I don't think there's any tie-in comics or any like Fortnite like audio logs that I was missing. So I think I have the full lore. And so when I saw the first one, what I like to do when I watch movies, I guess spoilers for the Devil Wears Prada duology. I saw the first one. If you don't know, you probably don't know the plot or the story of the. It's about like high fashion and like the main company is called Runway, and Anne Hathaway's character is like a journalist, but she's like, I need a job, and so she works as like a secretary or like an assistant to the CEO of this high fashion brand, and played by Meryl Streep. And Meryl Streep's an asshole, but like Anne Hathaway's character like she becomes like really involved because she's good at her job. And so when I watch a movie for the first time, what I like to do is I like to try and decipher like what are the themes of this movie, like what is this movie trying to say, like what's the message of this movie, and the problem with that is that I'm not very bright. I'm actually kind of dumb. I'm a bit of a dumb person. So a lot of the times I'm like, I don't know what. I can't tell. And I'll go and I'll look up like themes of this movie, and I'll see like what people garnered from it, and I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. That wasn't even in the ballpark of what I was thinking. And any interpretation of a movie is valid, but I'm always like, that makes a lot more. That's why this thing happened. That's why I was not thinking that at all, and everything in the movie starts to click for me, because I read somebody else's interpretation of it. And so when I was watching this first movie, I was like, what is this movie trying to say? Because you see this, so I'm like, it's not a critique of high fashion. It's not, because I was like throughout this movie, because I'm like maybe this is like trying to criticize that industry, because everything sucks and Meryl Streep sucks and she's mean and her life sucks because she's so invested in her job. And even at the end of the movie, Anne Hathaway's like, she throws the phone into the ocean or into the fountain, and she's like, I'm over it. And Emily Blunt's character gets hit by a car or something. I forget. And like it seems like, and everybody's scared of Meryl Streep, and so I'm like, maybe this is just meant to be like a commentary on how horrible this industry is, but it's really not, because there's like that scene where Meryl Streep's character Miranda, I'm gonna use the character name Miranda, and there's Andy, that's Anne Hathaway's character. And then Emily is Emily Blunt's character's name, so they use that one's easy to remember. But there's like that one scene where Miranda's like describing the importance to Andy, because Andy's like, to everybody else in the show or in the movie, they're like, you can't dress and you're too fat. You're a size 6. You're a fat pig. They always hate on how she dresses. However, a lot of the outfits and the clothes that are supposed to be like good look like trash. Like a lot of the decisions Miranda's making for outfits, horrible. I would not be caught dead wearing a single one of those things. But she's like explaining, like, Andy's like, I just put on this blue shirt or whatever. And Miranda's like explaining the importance of like how trends happen and how designers influence whatever. And it's meant to be like, oh, she knows her stuff, and this stuff is actually important, like these decisions and these designs. So it's not a critique. It's more of like the movie has a lot of reverence for the high fashion industry. And it reminds me of The Bear. One of my favorite shows is The Bear. And The Bear deals with like fine dining. And in this show, everybody's sad, everybody's angry and upset, and their lives suck. The more that they get invested into this fine dining thing, like they're just day after day, they're just like getting worse and worse, and the environment's horrible, and they're all yelling at each other, and it seems just like a horrible environment, a horrible thing to spend your life doing. To me, that's what it feels like to me. But there's a lot of characters in The Bear where like that's what they live for. Like this is what they enjoy doing. And so I'm like, it's similar to The Bear, more that to me, I'm like, this thing sucks, but it looks like the characters like it. So it's kind of like a thing where it's like, it's less a macro. The theme is less about on a macro scale, and it's more on like a character-based scale. Because there are characters in The Bear, I guess spoilers for The Bear, who start off like the main character, Carmi. He's like the main guy, and in the later seasons, he realizes that he's not in love with this anymore. Like it doesn't give him joy doing it. And so it's more of like a character-based thing. And I guess that's what the importance of Andy throwing her phone into the fountain. She's like, that's what helped me be like, oh, this is more about Andy rejecting that lifestyle. And I was like, what I was waiting for in this movie, because Miranda, usually in these movies, these kinds of movies, where there's a character that's such an asshole and a character that's like kind of different from the rest interacting with this person, you would think that the asshole character kind of warms up to and kind of makes a change when they realize like, oh, I've been mean this whole time. Let me make a change and be nicer. Kind of like The Proposal, the movie The Proposal with Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds. Kind of like that. But that never really happens. Like Miranda's not really nice to Andy. I mean, she kind of respects her. At the end, towards the end, but Miranda never makes a change, and you think that like someone's gonna undercut Miranda's like business, but it turns out that Miranda, like, she knew that thing was gonna happen, and so she fucking maneuvered her way to stay on top. And then when I saw that, I was like, oh damn, they're not going that route. And so at that point, I was like, maybe the theme of the movie is that Meryl Streep is evil and we have to like kill her or something. And maybe I was like, maybe the end of the movie is going to be Andy like poisoning Miranda because she's just too maniacal and evil to stay around. That's what I thought. However, I do like that's like a less predictable series of events. That kind of makes the movie stand out, because I was expecting one thing, but then it turned around. It was actually another thing. She becomes more evil. Her husband divorces her even more. And so yeah, I watched that movie, and I was like, I'm ready to see the second one. And I came out of the second movie with the opinion that those two movies are about the same in terms of quality and in terms of like me enjoying it. Obviously, I think the first one's a little bit better, but they're kind of around it in the same ballpark. Some people might get mad at me for saying that. Some people might get upset at me for saying that, but I didn't grow up with that. The first movie, I saw like a week before seeing the second one. So I feel like I have more of an objective viewpoint, seeing them within the same time frame and with the same sensibilities as my adult brain. They're about the same in quality. I wasn't watching the second one like, this is horrible. This ruined my cherished, sacred cow or whatever. And it's I feel like the second one, maybe this is a detriment, maybe this is a criticism. I found it easier to decipher this one compared to the first one. It was a lot more, I guess, clean cut in terms of what it's trying to say, and it's what it's setting up and what the payoffs are, because it is more of like a critique of modern things, like modern media, like social media and modern trends. I feel like it's much more clear in that and obvious in that, the way it is like, things used to be cool but now they suck, which makes sense because probably there's a lot of older people writing and making these movies, and the cast are so old. They're all ancient. They're all so old looking. Oh my gosh, seeing the first one and then this one, I'm like, oh my gosh, all their skin sagging. They all look so old. No, it wasn't that bad, obviously. I'm gonna say that every time there's like a remake 20, or like a sequel 20 years later. I'm gonna say that now every time, just so the people that are making it second guess. They're gonna be like, oh my god, do I really look old? Okay, I'm not gonna do 20-year later sequels anymore. Like Toy Story 5. Oh my gosh, I know there's no actors, but you hear Jessie. She sounds so old. She sounds ancient. The voice actor for Jessie. Maybe that's mean because I don't, sorry, but the second one is easier to understand in my smooth brain. And there's a lot of modern elements in here, obviously because it's set like now at times. I do think it's smart because I think it's smart to have it deal with modern topics because it makes the characters go through hoops that they didn't have to originally, and like the world is, I don't know. It makes me sad seeing a lot of current things like layoffs and TikTok or whatever that was in the movie being like, oh, because you watch a movie from long ago, you seem like, oh wow, everything was much better and simpler at that time. They all had flip phones or whatever. And now you come to now and everything's like sucks and it's horrible. It reminds you like, oh yeah, nobody has a job anymore. Sucks. But yeah, and then the movie, it happens and Miranda does the actual like, she doesn't turn good, but she like warms up to Andy. There's like a scene where she's like, confessing talking about her emotions because she's so sad all the time. And she says something that kind of reinforces what I was talking about earlier, where she's like, I'm good at this. She does her Walter White moment from Breaking Bad. She goes, I liked it. I was good at it. I was alive. That's basically what she says about her job. And then, everything kind of works out in the end. And then Emily's character, Emily Blunt's character, Emily, she tries to like take over the company from Miranda as like payback for firing her. But I like how at the end, her and Andy like start to be friends a little bit, because it recognizes that even though she tried to usurp Miranda from her job, that doesn't make her a bad person because Miranda's like evil. She is the devil that is wearing Prada, I assume. And the only other thing I wanted to talk about, Caleb, the podcast guy, Caleb Heron, is in this movie. And he must have filmed all his scenes in one day because he sits in that same chair in front of the desk for all of them. He showed up on set for one day and he's like, let's get all your scenes done. All right, change your shirt. And all right, get back in the chair. I mean, I guess it makes sense if you have, the first movie had like real life models and fashion designers. It would make sense that this movie has, a podcaster. Although he doesn't play himself. He's playing a character. Which I guess, how does that make sense? Because you got people in this and in the first one playing themselves, and then you got people playing characters. What happens if who plays Lady Gaga's in the second movie? What if she's like hey, I'm Lady Gaga. Have you seen The Dark Knight Rises with Anne Hathaway? Everybody's like, who? Anne Hathaway. Lady Gaga, yeah, she looks exactly like Andy. And then Andy's like, oh, awkward. What if Lady Gaga's like, you guys want to go see the Odyssey movie with Anne Hathaway? Like, who the fuck? Who's Anne Hathaway? Do they have an actor playing Anne Hathaway in that universe? I need to know that. I saw the popcorn bucket for the Odyssey, by the way. It's a little Trojan horse. They've been putting that horse in, like, I also saw they're putting that horse in like different places in the real world. Hopefully they don't put it in Troy. You know what I mean? Hopefully Troy, keep that thing away from Troy because they got some PTSD regarding that horse. That's a reference to the story of the Trojan horse in real life. That's probably a movie I'm going to see in theaters. The Odyssey. That's a movie I'm excited for. I'm going to see it in IMAX. Hopefully I live near an IMAX cinema. Because I always wanted to see a movie in IMAX. And Christopher Nolan's always like, I film my movies in IMAX, watch it on the biggest screen. Find a screen the size of the Empire State Building and watch my movie on there. I'm going to try to, Christopher Nolan. Chill out. I watched your last movie on my MacBook, probably, so I failed you in that regard. I'm going to watch the movie in IMAX, and I'm going to buy the popcorn bucket. Just kidding. Actually, I don't... This is probably one of my biggest critiques of, like, modern Hollywood. One of my least favorite trend is the fucking popcorn buckets. All these custom popcorn buckets. Now it's like every week you see, come to this cinema and buy... I mean, I guess they've always been a thing, like the custom popcorn buckets that are like they're kind of like big, like figures of something, and you put the Fantastic Four had ones, Superman had ones. I mean, even I think it's been a thing for like the longest time. But I don't know this because I guess it went viral when the Dune movie had the popcorn bucket of the sandworm, and everybody was like, you can put your penis inside of that, and so now every movie's like super hard promoting their popcorn bucket. The Odyssey's like, look at this Trojan horse. Don't make jokes about putting your penis in it. Wink. That's not what they're doing. Sorry. But I don't know. I don't like seeing these popcorn buckets because it's like, sure, you buy, and also they're like they're so overpriced. They're like $90 for a popcorn bucket that you're gonna use once and you're gonna keep in a drawer probably. And sure, they look cool. Like, they look cool. They're like a cool, I guess, cool memorabilia. If you're like a big collector, you can put it on your shelf. But like, I would rather buy like a figure or like a statue rather than a popcorn bucket, because they design popcorn buckets to be hollow and like plastic so you can put your popcorn in it. And a lot of times they gotta take some liberty. I've seen popcorn buckets. There was one for the Supergirl movie of like Lobo on his motorcycle, and you put like 3 pieces of popcorn in there. So if you want like a cool figure, you have to take some liberties when it comes. You either have a cool figure or you have a popcorn bucket. You can't really mix the two. If you go too far on one side, the other side, less popcorn. If you make it, the cooler you make it look, or the more intricate. And at the end of the day, I'd be like, why? Like, this is cool. Just sell this as a figure. Like, make it like an actual figure instead of a. I don't need to put my popcorn in it. I'm probably never ever gonna put my popcorn in it after the first time. And then you gotta clean the inside. Probably it's gonna be greasy. You gotta like rinse it out, and it's gonna be hard to like scrub on the inside of it. I think the next movie I'm gonna see in the theater will be Toy Story 5, because I'm a big Toy Story guy. That's been my thing since I was a kid. It was that, Cars, and then the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. Those are like my big 3. So I'm probably gonna see that, and then Supergirl. I'm probably gonna watch Supergirl. I haven't kept up with any of the marketing of that one, but I'm definitely. I have to see it. You guys know I love that first Superman movie, and I've been keeping up with this rebooted DC universe, so I have to see it. So that's it. That's all I had to talk about for this episode. Those are my thoughts. In case you were wondering, those were my thoughts on the Devil Wears Prada franchise. Let's cross our fingers for a third one 20 years later when Miranda has died of old age probably, or maybe she's immortal. Maybe that's the big twist, that she just lives forever and she terrorizes the world of New York for the rest of eternity. Yeah, thank you all for listening. Hopefully I'll see you guys next week. The episodes might come out in like weird times depending on when, and they might be in weird places like the inside of cars or in different houses or hotel rooms or back alleys, maybe jail cells. I might get up to some shit in the next before the next episode. Yeah, thank you all for listening to this one, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye.